And so this is part 2 of Mother of the Pearl. We begin with my opening of the scroll experience on the night of November 26th, 1990. I asked Thoth, who was the male presence in my bedroom last night manifesting the emerald diamond-shaped energy which was interfaced with my biosystem, and why was he doing this? Thoth replies, the being present was Mercuriel. That's an archangelic being I was kind of communicating with for a while there. He was opening the scroll to you. This is the process of bringing your gem essence into the membrane, the energetic field that contains the recording crystals of the earth. The membrane was established by the master builders in the first aeon. When the scroll is opened, your innermost wisdoms are given remembrance. You are called to remember that which you do not wish to see, yet long to rejoin. You do not wish to see because it is too far removed from the temporal world in which you exist. So I ask, my only conscious memory is of seeing a naked woman with long, dark hair, wearing a veil trailing behind her, but pulled back from her face. I remember that she had something above her and something below her. After Anne Robinson, a dear friend of mine, and a metaphysical symbologist, said she felt that the mother of the pearl was the woman clothed with the sun in Revelations. After Anne had told me that, I knew that it was she whom I had seen in my opening of the scroll, and that what was above her were the 12 stars, which are the foundation stars, and the moon or pearl was at her feet. I was guided to go to Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages, where I found 2 pictures, one of the Saitic Isis and the other of the Celestial Virgin, with the sun god in her arms. Well, I Googled this just now, and here's the Saitic Isis. In fact, I do believe this is probably played out of Manly P. Hall's book, but I'm not sure. You notice it's attached to something called the Brave New World Order, which has nothing to do with this image as far as I'm concerned. But let me read what it says here. I, Isis, am all that has been, that is or shall be. No mortal man hath ever unveiled me. And at her feet it says, the fruit which I have brought forth is the sun. The fruit which I have brought forth is the sun. I wish I could make this larger, but I can't. You notice she's got an ankh on one side with something that looks like a little broom or something like that. And she's got scales on the other side, you know, the weighing of the scales. There's all kinds of symbolism there I would like to see more clearly, but unfortunately, this is the only image I have of that. Now, here we have the Celestial Virgin with God's Son in her arms. If these 2 pictures were to be combined, they would come close to the image I saw. My woman did not have a child in her arms, but I realize now that her fullness or girth was evidence of her pregnancy. She carried nothing, yet her arms were outstretched like the Saitic Isis. Her hair was dark, wavy, and long. I also remember that my woman was giving forth something from her womb, and that it was in great peril of being received by evil. I got the last is the first. Well, that's interesting because Thoth just commented to me further understanding of the First Lord, of Yeshua's role as the First Lord was the first and the last. And this is saying the first is the last. And that before what had been sowed by the Christ was reaped by the Antichrist, but now what was sowed by the Antichrist would be reaped by the Christ. In other words, out of the abyss of the creature or beast, there shall be delivered his glory. As I write this, I know that the Antichrist can only enter into the genetic host of a direct descendant of the house of God, Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus' direct lineage through John Martinus. Considering that the two previous anti-Christic attempts, Napoleon was French and Hitler was German, I do not understand how this could be, but there must be some kind of genetic linkage of a divine nature. Well, I don't know why I couldn't understand it then. I can understand it now. I mean, they don't have to be Hebrew to be linked. We're coming through a whole many houses linking into one through the ages. So that would make sense to me. This whole Antichrist thing, too, is another subject we really, I can't get into here, but it's not, it's more dimensional than is given in the Bible. Let's put it that way. When Amethystine, mother of the pearl, first appeared to me in March of 1989, I remember that she appeared exactly as she did when I saw her on November 26, 1990, during the opening of the scroll. In that March experience, I heard, she sought a world in which the fruit of her womb would be harvested for all. Now I know the mother of the pearl is also the woman clothed with the sun. This divine Christic feminine being certainly gets around. She's just about everybody here. I am able to re-experience what I could not before retain consciously in the opening of the scroll. Here I quote a lot from Revelations, which I'm going to skip. I'm just going to go past that. And then I say, as Mercuriel, that's that archangel I was communicating with, opened the membine through the emerald fire, I beheld myself as a witness to the woman clothed with the sun, the mother of the pearl, as she first came to the earth. I was in midair with her, and there were other witnesses also, and we all hid our eyes from the mighty light which shone about her. But we dared to look again, and she was in our midst as a burnishing tree of life, her arms outstretched and her hair flowing through space. I looked upon her with awe as a great sounding was heard, and from her body was issued forth a child of transparent beauty, who was so fine as to be of spun gold, and yet with the strength beyond wonder, profound in his message of truth. But the child opened his eyes to the day. But as the child opened his eyes to the day, so a darkness descended, and the beast laid his hand upon him and marked his right thigh. And I cried out, No, Lord, let not this be. I shall witness for him, and you shall deliver him to thee. No, and you shall deliver, yeah, that's right. I shall witness for him, that you shall deliver him to thee. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And I knew it must be that the child would be delivered, yet would retain the mark upon his thigh until all who witnessed for him were to become a living testament that shall bear witness to the whole truth. Crown of 12 stars. I'm quoting here from something, it's in quotes, a symbol of supremacy over the conditions of the lower planes during the cycle of 12 divisions of the zodiac. A woman arrayed with the sun and the moon under her feet, upon her head a crown of 12 stars. That's from Revelation. And then the wisdom principle Budi, with the power of self sun and ruling the astral region moon, with supremacy over the lower planes as director of the evolution of the soul. This is the soul invested with the light of supreme knowledge attained through the experiences undergone in the long series of her past existences, standing on the moon as victor over materiality and firm in the faith of a full intuition. States denoted respectively by the dark and light portions of the moon, and superior evermore to the changes of mortal destiny. the stars which represent this being, the jewels in her crown, each of them denoting one of the 12 labors necessary to be endured by the soul on her path to her final perfectionment, and the spiritual gifts and graces acquired in the process. Now that's from a book called The Perfect Way, page 190. And then again from Revelations, it signifies wisdom, intelligence. This is from Swedenborg. It signifies wisdom and intelligence from knowledges of divine good and divine truth derived from the world. And now we have from the Gaskell's Dictionary of All Symbols and Myths, there was a wonder in heaven, a throne was seen far above, all created powers, mediatorial, intercessory, a title, archetypal, a crown bright in the morning star, a glory issuing from the eternal throne, robes pure as the heavens, and the scepter over all. And who was the predestined heir of that majesty? Who was that wisdom, and what was her name? The mother of fair love and fear, holy hope, exalted like a palm tree in Engaddi, and a rose plant in Jericho, created from the beginning before the world, in God's counsels, and in Jerusalem was her power? ? The vision is found in the Apocalypse, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. The votaries of Mary do not exceed the true faith. Well, that's kind of a mouthful there. But what we're seeing again and again and again is the divine Christic being in a feminine embodiment or form or polarity or whatever you want to call it. And as the birther, the Son, the Christ child, the embodied in Yeshua is the S-U-N as well as S-O-N, the solar aspect. The mother of the world is not lunar. She's really beyond that. She's holding her lunar presence to reflect the sun, but she is beyond the universe. She's a realm beyond. She's representing the Metatronic Council, I would say, more than anything else. So I'm going to conclude with what comes next here in this issue, which is really a connective article called Dynamic of Existence, the Metatronic Fulcrum. Many years ago, I wrote and published a book entitled Translations of the Golden Rod. After I had accessed the Ormid Kabah information, William Bueller and I were discussing a chapter in this book entitled The Great Wheel. William told me that it answered several major questions for him regarding a wheel dynamic he had been working with for some time. He then informed me that it correlated with the ancient Hebrew understanding of creation of souls, which was the great wheel concept in my book. In the Hebrew version, the point of interchange between the inner and outer levels of the ethereal field through which souls come into life is represented by 2 figures, each seated on a throne, their arms raised in the air. Between these forms is a forearm, palm up, thumb extended upward. This hieroglyph depicts the pivotal node through which a soul is represented via the higher forms of its soul grouping into the lower ethers. I'm sorry I'm reading this so poorly. My eyes are kind of going on me right now. I want to pause for a moment, and I don't like to get off topic, but doggone it, I just have to bring this up. Yesterday, I saw a video that I'd actually seen one time before. It was a documentary, on these people who are filming these things in the sky and images and stuff that they're getting on film that you can't see with the eye. A lot of orbs and things like that, but they're also getting these other symbols. They're just kind of like reflected on a wall or maybe just sort of floating in the sky like a plasmic thing or whatever. And out of them, there's several repeated symbols. In other words, different people, different times, different cameras, different places were filming these same symbols, so to speak. And one of them looked like a person holding up a fork. What does it say? Here we have in this, it speaks about it between these forms, palms up, thumbs extended upward. It could very much, when I think of what I saw in this video, it could very much be representative of this, very much. Of course, now the people that were seeing it and they were interpreting it, not so much the people who were photographing it, but the fellow that was talking about it had a very strong fundamentalist Christian background. He was not, he was pretty good with the video. He wasn't slanting it too much. I mean, he was really trying to be fair on in the whole picture. I liked him. But nevertheless, he did have a strong biblical background, and he kept bringing up the word evil a lot. And he saw this as a pitchfork, you know, maybe satanic evil kind of thing. I didn't even see that at the time. I thought, no, this isn't a sacred symbol of some kind. I just don't know what it is. Well, here it is. I mean, I'm drawing that conclusion. But I really, really feel in my heart of hearts that this is what was being shown, because listen to what it's saying about it again. This hieroglyph depicts the pivotal node through which a soul is present via the higher forms of its soul grouping into the lower ethers. Well, what were they seeing? They were seeing plasmic, etheric images floating around in the sky. So that's the symbol that they were giving them to say, here we are. Okay, so now we're going to go back and continue with this text. As William was relating all this to me, I experienced a vision in which I saw two throned male figures with disattached forearms in the center. They looked very much within the concept of Godhead representatives, complete with long white beards. Above their heads was an image of the Kaaba and the Ormit, with a figure 8 or infinity sign attaching them. So you have a cube and a cube, and in between you have an infinity sign. You know, one loop is running through one cube and one loop is running through the other, and you know, the infinity, so they meet in the center. I have a drawing of it in this book, but unfortunately I can't show that to you. I lost my place. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I'm taking so long here. I asked William to draw this for me, which he did. However, in his vision, the men are depicted as hieroglyphs rather than the full forms I saw, and my fellows were very large, and with the dynamic above their heads about 1/3 of their size. Even so, in my vision, it was made clear that the point of ingress-egress was at the center of the 8, the figure 8, the infinity circle symbol. I realized that this was the dynamic which activated the full Metatronic spiral through the entire tree of life, not only quickening this activation within present humanity, but allowing a transference of polar forms between two distinctly opposite universes, the universe of the Kaaba and the universe of the Ormit. Previously, when humanity has interacted with opposites, it has been within its own form fields, but this new dynamic opens the gate to interplane correspondence far beyond the sense nature. If the figure 8 is stood upright, it can be seen as the inside mechanism of the Metatronic spiral as it displays its double cone vector from above to below. It also forms the inner grid of the IMSTRA, the Metatronic StarTech Redemption Apex. Oh, I've been wanting to know what IMSTRA stood for. I couldn't remember, where I found it. Here it is. Metatronic StarTech Redemption Apex. But this is the light molecule within the DNA, the light molecule that the Greys are after and everybody else, because it's our entry point into the higher heavens, into the Metatronic field. This light molecule, as has been previously stated, is being newly gained within our human crystallic structure, that is, it's being regenerated. It is the missing link to our star-engendered origins, giving us once again access to these divine patterns of being. And also this figure 8, if you turn it so that it's lengthwise, you can also very conveniently fit it inside of the Areopax, which is, of course, the dynamic for all portals. You know, dynamic for just about everything. It's the entry point, the mechanism, the engine for it all. Not just entry, but the engine. In transference of waves of divine codings from the Kaaba inverted to the Ormed outraying universe fields, so we, as center point commanders on our starship thrones, will be able to truly assume the role of co-creators, the new Elohim. We will be creating new amalgams. I can't say that word. Let me try it again. Amalgams. That's right, amalgams. Mixtures of both principles or universes within our succeeding generations, thus enabling them to truly go where no man has gone before, on star texts beyond imagining. I couldn't resist that. I am informed by my sources that a star text is a lattice of star energy created by a non-lateral gravity system, i.e. outside polarity, containing no opposite poles, interacting on high-state star emissions from the center of the living lights, the archangelic resonances within star matter. A non-lateral gravity system is created when two or more pairs of positive-negative magnetic fields, each from different star valencies, the combining powers of an atom, or universes, forming a greater valency, canceling out dualistic functions within the combined dynamic. I will spare you any further meta-science on this subject for now, but will say that by doing away with polarity opposites, at least within this format, no dimension or universe would be inaccessible to us. See, now we could still be in our polarity universe, but we could create these vectors of non-polarity that offered us this accessibility, this unlimited, almost virtually unlimited accessibility. So, what keeps this world inhabitants within such small circles of evolution and being is the very nature of opposition. This is not to say that polarity does not serve essential purposes, for indeed it does. But beyond this Garden of Eden, Adam, Eve, I just made a new term there, Edom, which is possibly, Adam and Eve beyond polarities. Okay, let me start that over. But beyond this garden of Adam and Eve compliance lies the field of Ardroth. There in the heart of the lion, 666, and the heart of the lamb, 999, are at one. After receiving Thoth's comment on the field of Ardroth, I was able to find mention of it in Queen Helene's New Age Bible Interpretation, Old Testament, Volume 3. For vibratory power, the mysteries of the book of Daniel are equaled only by the exalted mystery of the field of Ardroth, where under the direction of certain Ezra, scriptures were received from the Christ Archangel, which became the basis of the Hebrew Christian mysteries for the next 2,500 years. Hence, esotericists declare that Christianity began in the field of Ardroth, at Babylon. There, among the flowers of the field, where no house was builded, the voice spoke out of a bush, and the solar Christ revealed himself to the Babylonian scribe, giving the new solar mysteries for the Piscean age. They remained the secret of the elect until he came to earth in a physical body and rent the veil, hiding them from mankind. Thenceforth, whosoever willed might come. It is in the post-exilic books of the Bible that we learn of the field of Ardroth and its glorious harvest yield in the restoration. Unquote. So, Thoth further comments that the field of Ardroth consciousness contains another layer of destiny sheaves which will be given us in the near future. He reminds me that in the early 1980s, he sent me to KYI'RA. It's KYI'RA, Colorado, but it's spelled O-U-R-A-Y, our Ray, to establish a touch point for the field of Ardath. I only vaguely remember this. I can see myself standing out in the middle of a field, repeating his instructions. No grand visions occurred. I simply did what I was told to do and left. I did not understand, nor do I to this day, what I was really enacting amidst the grasses and flowers on a Colorado afternoon. In summary, the field of Ardath represents an open-ended universe in which all existential, I can say that word, sorry, let me try it again. Existential unity is performed by one absolute and not a product of entropic devaluation, i.e. breaking down of form into smaller and less divinely aligned prototypes of the original archetype. The open-ended concept implies that every creation is allowed infinite creativity without the loss of the one absolute, or master archetypal imprint within it. In other words, accessing the limitless creations that complexity provides via genetics, for instance, without sacrificing the pure form of the mother-father origin that is indelibly inscribed upon the cornerstone of each soul's most essential being. Wow. I like that. And in fact, this really clues in to something I'm going to be doing later, another video, about transhumanism and what people are attempting to do with that at this time. I'm not going to go into that now, but they're attempting to break down the forms. And this is saying how you can explore DNA in its fullest infinite self without breaking down the forms, without destroying it. Because in cloning things, as they're doing it now, excuse me for that cough, I'm going to take a sip of water here. In the way we're attempting to clone things, people, beings, animals, whatever, we have to corrupt in order to create. And this is talking about the pure way of moving through the whole natural dimensional realm that DNA offers us. So to continue to this work here, in our present construct, i.e. the Adam-Eve compliance, whenever we move away from simplicity toward the lure of infinite possibilities, complexity provides, so we lose our essential being. It becomes strained through the sackcloth of the baser forms we create. In the field of Ardath, we will raise the creative factor to a valency with all universes, thus bringing humanity into the mainstream of the one absolute, which is centered consciousness and outward movement. We must go within the infra-logos of creation in order to move away from our bonding to entropy. And when we accomplish this, we will be free to pursue without being pursued, to bend without breaking, to hold without crushing. We will be counted, in the words of the ancients, among the immortals. And so, my dear friends and fellow soul travelers, that concludes the very long Mother of the Pearl two-part video. I hope that you have found some things in it that you can relate to. I know my work is so esoteric, but at the same time, within it, I do believe is found the thread, a very strong thread, that, and now, especially in this age, in this time, can seem to be viable and meaningful to our current reality. When I first received that information, even back in the 1990s, even I was going, well, how does this relate to what we need to know now? You know, really, how does it? I'm drawn to it, and obviously I'm supposed to be working with it because I'm receiving it. But, you know, how does it really relate to our everyday life in 1990s? I could see places where it did, but, you know, I had my doubts. Now I feel stronger that it does relate. But I'm speaking now to audiences, to people in 2017. And it seems to me now that it's all there on the page. Yeah, you have to study it a little bit. Go back and read it here and there, but it's there. And I'm amazed by that. So, In all my amazement and gratitude, I shall conclude here for the day. Love you all.